If someone asked what Sears, Roebuck & Company has contributed to the history of architecture, maybe you'd think of the Sears Tower, the world's tallest building. You'd be right, but there's more, much more. From 1908 to 1937, Sears contributed houses, honor-built houses they were called. As Harry Porterfield reports, all you had to do was open up a catalog and pick the home of your choice. Sears would do the rest.
Throughout the Chicago area, you'll find buildings designed by famous names. Buildings by Frank Lloyd Wright, buildings by Mies van der Rohe, buildings by Sears, Roebuck & Company. That's right, Sears, Roebuck & Company. In 1908, Sears began to sell the American dream by mail order. For the next 29 years, buying a home could be as easy as opening up a Sears Modern Homes catalog. You could choose from a Hollywood, a Martha Washington, or any one of dozens more. Prices started at $650 and peaked at $5,140 for the Magnolia. It had a curving staircase, inlaid floors, and servants' quarters. What you'd get for your money would be a set of house plans drawn up by a team of Sears architects, plus everything else, including the kitchen sink. Lumber, wallpaper, nails, even electric light bulbs would be included. You had your choice of things like doors, doorknobs, paints. Sometimes a wall safe would come free with the purchase, but storm doors and windows would cost you $85 extra. Everything was pre-cut. All you had to do was match up the numbered pieces. You could build the house yourself or find a contractor. As time passed, though, Sears itself offered to build the homes, as it did this one, which still stands in Hinsdale. Sears decided some of the do-it-yourselfers could use help, says Sears archivist Lenore Swaiskin.
Well, the instructions were quite specific. There is evidence probably that it wasn't successful in some instances because we got into the home construction business, and they would have supervising teams go out to make sure that the houses were put up correctly.
These homes were built in Wilmette, but since no records were kept on what housing kits went where, Sears today has no street addresses on these. There may be thousands of people out there living in a Sears home who don't know it. The Floyd Johnsons didn't know it. This is their Sears home in Glen Ellen. It's the Americas, a fine home that any American could be proud of, says the catalog. Their house was built in 1923. They bought it in 1967. They've made a lot of changes and additions, but they still have the original blueprints. In fact, that's how the Johnsons found out they lived in a Sears home. They found the blueprints in the attic.
You can indicate on here that it is a Sears honor-built home by Sears and Roebuck & Company, and the Americas title. Well, it's a solid built home. I think the technology was there for the materials that they had, and I think they put in, they didn't hold back as far as the construction quality, and it seems to be holding up quite well.
Back in 1912, the Oscar Heppies chose Sears house number 200 to build in LaGrange. Their daughter, Mrs. Mary Leonard, lives there now with her family.
They had planned on building a bungalow that was also in the same catalog, and at the last minute my mother called my father at the office and she said, "I don't want to sleep downstairs. I've decided I want to sleep upstairs. Let's build the other house."
Not counting land and labor, the Leonard's house sold for $1,528 in 1912. In today's money, that's just $12,500. The house still shows off its original Sears decor. The fireplace, the built-in bookshelves, leaded windows with a touch of stained glass, oak woodwork throughout the house, lighting fixtures, the Sears wash basin upstairs.
There's one disadvantage to it, and that is there's only one bathroom in the house, and we've tried to figure out a way to put a powder room in without changing things too much, but so far it hasn't been done.
It was this house, the Alhambra, that caught the eye of Alfred Lang in 1922. Well, the stucco has been resurfaced, but otherwise, the place is in good shape. Mr. Lang's son, Forbes, says it was only natural for his dad to buy a mail-order house.
Well, he was always a Sears fan. He thought Sears had good quality, and he always had success with things that he bought from Sears.
This is the dining room, complete with a built-in buffet that came with the house. In the living room, you'll find Sears lighting fixtures, fireplace, window seat, and again, a lot of oak woodwork. You can see the similarities between the real thing and how the catalog depicted the Alhambra. Sears made suggestions on how to furnish its houses. Blueprints even showed where to place the new furniture. All Sears furniture, Sears hoped. In fact, that's the reason the company got into the housing business. The better to sell what would go inside the house. At Northwestern University, architect Gabor Zielony says the Sears homes were just good basic houses.
They were not of an architectural character as if we think of a Frank Lloyd Wright or a Richardson home or a Sullivan structure. At the same time, they were, I feel, far above the average that would be constructed by carpenters, developers of the time.
Sears advertised the homes as a way to beat rent payments. Sears itself even offered the financing. And that's why the mail-order home business finally died. The hard times of the 30s hit, and mortgage payments just got to be too much for some of those new homeowners. In 1937, the Sears Modern Home program ended, but not before it had contributed an estimated 100,000 homes to the American landscape.
There's no easy way to tell if you live in a Sears home. There's no logo over the door or anything. But if you're ever restoring, you might spot a label or a stamp on the inside and some of the woodwork.
And it was in 1919 that Sears got its biggest order for pre-cut houses. Standard Oil of Indiana paid $1 million for 200 Sears homes. The oil company had just bought 2 coal mines near Carlinville, Illinois, and needed quick, inexpensive housing for the miners.